other people now.
It's recording.
Okay.
The book is, Bill, you want to announce the book?
No.
The book is Jason's.
The book is The Good Terrorist by
Doris Lessing.
Lessing, Lessing.
I found
And-
Alice to be one of the most irritating people
Yeah.
I've ever
No
read
kidding.
about.
Well, I have
Oh
two.
my gosh.
I have just two statements. Fight Club, and
Fight Club?
yeah, and what's it? And Kitteridge.
Oh.
Oh, the
And
Fight
then-
Club book.
And this was kind of a melding of
And we
Olive
know,
Kitteridge and the Fight Club.
we know how much you love
Chuck
Olive, too.
Palahniuk? Chuck Palahniuk?
No.
Did he write Fight Club?
You might
I don't
have.
know,
Yeah.
but that's all I could think of when I was reading this. I was surprised. I was prepared to not like it, in which case it would have been John's choice. But
And
now
that's why
that
you chose
I
it.
like
I
it,
was
so
gonna
it's,
say, and you chose
so it's
it.
my choice.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was an interesting book. Her writing style was curious, and I had to go back more than once to reread the sentence
Me too.
to pick up to try to pick up the inflection
The
of what she was
accent,
stating,
right.
and so it's a character study, and I didn't think I'd ever like a character study along these lines, but it was actually kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, just because I didn't like Alice doesn't mean I didn't like the book. I liked the book. I thought it was really interesting and showed her evolution from this mother kind of figure in this house, and at the end, what she's going to do, join the professionals, and I'm like, what does that mean, Alice? She's going to go talk to the guy from MI5,
Right?
and
Become a counter agent?
yeah,
Maybe. I mean, you don't really know.
you're going to join the big guns and do the real terrorist stuff.
But she was actually an IRA agent in the book.
She was?
That's
I
why.
don't think so. No,
They
wanted,
formed a new.
Or did they just
they
want to be?
wanted to link up with the IRA, but the IRA didn't want them. I think that's
Okay.
basically. No, I just felt like they were just kind of this independent.
They
group
made-
that were
Yeah,
trying
no,
to start
I
a
think-
new party, and they were just anti everything government and
Right.
I just felt like they were, the whole thing was, we're trying to be these cool terrorist type people, honestly, as a way to avoid getting a job, being responsible,
Yeah.
like even having a
Doing
home,
the dishes.
doing the dishes, making your own tea, even like, you know, I don't know, like everything. I mean, Alice went out and did all the stuff to make them have a living space, but the rest of them didn't even seem to care. And I kept thinking, is she a terrorist or is she just a mother, a house mother? I don't know.
I thought it was hysterical that she kept projecting all this normative living, you know, her parents and the way they lived.
Exactly. And then
But
she,
then she's buying curtains
Right.
and you know,
Painting
getting the
rooms
carpets and
and-
painting
right.
her
Stealing
house,
her dad's money.
getting the
It's
house
like-
all fixed up.
I'm like, I really didn't like it because that's what they did. They just took from everybody just for what?
I'm assuming.
Because they
I'm
didn't
assuming it was
wanna-
it was
They
an
didn't
attempt to
wanna
show the hypocrisy of terrorism on a certain level.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought she really captured Britain though, because when I worked over there, you could sit around a conference table. There could be 5 people, there could be 15 people, and you'd go around the room. People would talk, and she describes it at the very beginning of the book. And so everybody there has an accent, and you are categorized and typed by your accent. And somebody can tell you that they can tell you came from East London. They can tell you came from North England. They can tell you came from South
Working
Coast.
class.
Every one of them, you can tell them, whether or not you were working class, whether or not you were elite, and just by your accent, and the morphology of people. I mean, their looks are different too. But I thought she really captured the class divides. It was spot on.
Yeah, because they didn't know each other. They were like trying to prove themselves, right? They were
Yeah,
trying
but-
to prove themselves to go to another level or something. That's what I thought.
But she was
interesting about
she
it.
was quick to go. Oh, well, you're from East London. Oh, you're from North England, or you know. And I was and so I couldn't figure out why she was supposed to be clairvoyant. I mean, it's like,
Yeah, she
I
could
couldn't
read
figure-
people, you know.
what did that have to do with the storyline?
She knew exactly what their motivations were and
Right.
what they were going to do. And
If she'd have cut all that out, the book had been like 250 pages. I was surprised because that was always every
yeah,
time.
Yeah, yeah.
I took it as part of it was she, for the most part, it just felt like she did not have a life particularly, and everybody ignored her, and so you're just in her head. You're just in her head with all of her thoughts about so and so and all the stuff. You're just hearing what she's thinking, and most of the time she's not verbalizing it. She's just thinking.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know, she's
yeah.
just kind of like, because she's just in her head a little too much, and she's not out. They're all doing stuff, and she's not.
Yeah,
So
she's home putting up
she's
the
home
curtains.
putting up the
and
curtains and making
going-
sure everything gets 2 coats of paint beforehand.
Yeah,
And I was
making
like,
a stew.
I was like, gets 2 coats of paint up and does the ceiling too beforehand.
I mean, you
That
guys,
felt a little
she
unrealistic.
buried all that shit in the yard.
I know.
Yeah, that was. That
Can't
was
believe that was even
Allowed. Apparently
allowed.
not
I
allowed.
don't
And
think
you don't sit in and get mucky again. Because you know it rains in England almost every day.
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, there were lots
I
of
found
that
that
was
But I
hard
mean,
to get into.
I mean, and then the only way she got stuff is she just went and stole it. She stole it from her
Yeah,
parents.
yeah.
You know, and I'm just like,
How
how does this make you
Bourgeois,
better than
yeah.
them? How does this
Yeah.
make you better than
Yeah,
them?
yeah.
I mean,
Well, how old was Alice?
36.
30 something.
36 years old.
So
She
she-
had not had a job since she got out of college, since she got out of university. She said, I haven't had a job since I got out of university. The one guy wanted to give her a job. And she I don't know if she actually said that to him, but in her head.
And it's like she was proud of it.
Yeah,
That
they
was-
weren't Buddhists. They weren't practicing some really cool, back to the earth kind of thing.
They were violent
Which
for no
is-
good reason, as far as I could tell.
Which would be the
Not all
only
of
reason
them,
for
no.
me, in my mind, to not have a job.
Well, they weren't violent until
They're-
they got hooked up with those people next door.
Yeah.
I think mainly what they did was go to demonstrations. It sounded like what they did.
Well,
Yeah.
and
Right.
they spray painted graffiti on
Yes,
things.
and they graffiti.
And Alice was sort of good with that, right?
Yeah,
She was good with that.
she loved it. Especially when she went with, what's his name? The gay
The
guy.
gay guy.
She was
Jasper.
obsessed with.
Jasper, the gay
Jasper.
guy.
Jasper, that she was obsessed with.
Okay, I didn't get all the way to the end. Did it ever really come out that he was gay? Or was that just, we just all knew it?
I think we just all knew it. No, it didn't.
He
Well,
loved
all
I
the
didn't
scenes
know.
that Jasper described, him rejecting her and
loving
him-
the guys
and
that
him
were.
buddying up to his hookup, whatever that was,
Yeah.
whatever that guy was, and spending time with him. So it seemed she really directed the story in that way.
I mean, he only was, he used her to get money.
But I kept thinking, so these characters that are they're not terrorists, they're just protesters, professional protesters, and you could like hire them to protest for something. I mean, like so what was it like in Oregon? When they had the one percenters, they were all protesting. How would the personalities that were there and the group
The
dynamics?
tree huggers?
Well, it was in Portland when they tore Portland apart.
Downtown.
What, 4 or 5 years ago?
That was
Oh.
a Black Lives Matter.
Was it?
So
No,
they were-
it was something else too. I thought.
Protesting an
It was
actual.
like
They were
anti-Wall
protesting
Street
something.
thing.
Yeah.
Occupy Wall Street.
Yes.
Yeah, Occupy Wall Street.
or something.
Oh, okay.
Well, that actually had a purpose.
I'm just saying,
Yeah.
whether there's a purpose or not, there were a lot of protesters there that had no,
Skin in the game.
yeah, they had no interest in occupying Wall Street. It was all about just mayhem and chaos, and they've talked about that. And I mean, at Ferguson, here, I mean, every place there's a big riot that goes on for more than a couple hours. There are these professional protesters that come in to do smash windows and grab and just cause chaos.
Antifa. It's all Antifa. It's a deep state.
So I thought that was kind of strange because this is what took place in 86-ish, 85. And so here we're in, 2025, basically, and that shit's still going on. So I thought that was kind of
People
curious.
don't change.
I thought it was more like a look inside of how a cell might be put together. I think we probably also knew, they send over 20 people, and they put them in a house. Doesn't work like that. It's more of an interconnecting thing where somebody comes in and finally she's a good terrorist because she's building a cell.
Why was she a good
trying to
terrorist?
trying to figure out who.
Why was she a good terrorist?
Well, I mean, I have the
Curtains
book
up.
more.
Yeah, she put the curtains out in place. And
They stoop.
She was basically a
She
good
never
person,
killed
but
Cleaned up the-
anyone?
She was
Did she
trying
kill?
to take on the leadership role in her group. So in that sense, she was a good terrorist.
right.
The other thing she did, she.
I mean,
I
all these
thought
guys,
Pat-
they just seem like kind of entitled, spoiled people in the, bottom line. I mean, it's like, I don't know.
Except for Mary. I like that with Mary.
Yeah.
Mary talked to her. She,
Who?
Can I talk to you? Mary, don't you remember? She worked at
couple
she worked at the city. She was part of the city where she went to get her
Housing.
Was it the electric?
The housing.
to get her permit
Yeah.
to live there, and so that was the first person she talked to, and then Mary came after the inspector, the badass inspector came over and said okay, and Mary came back the next day and was talking to her and then said, I talked to you privately and said, can I live here?
Why did Mary want to live there?
Because it was
Well,
very inexpensive, and it was very expensive.
Her
They were living-
She didn't make very much.
her engineering husband lost his job, and
Yeah.
she didn't like the guy she was working for, and so that was hilarious.
They needed someplace that was.
But she wasn't a protester. She
No.
wasn't.
No, she had belonged to it. She had
Oh,
belonged.
yeah, she had.
Greenpeace.
No, that's right. They were
Oh, yeah.
She was in Greenpeace.
Yeah.
But it was
That's a
a,
legitimate
Which is
outfit.
a really good.
Right. I
They
mean,
have
that's very different than a terrorist.
Yes. But did you read very many IRA books?
No.
Or I have. There's the one lady, and about the bombings in
I mean, how to blow shit
Northern
up.
Ireland.
No.
Well, I mean, the Catholics and the Protestants, I mean, they had a legitimate reason to not like each other. Because
Well, they all hated the British.
and the British are still occupying Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
How is that?
How does that
I
work?
got off topic, but
Yeah.
that's what I thought this book was going to be about, and I've loved reading. And remember the movie that came out a couple years ago that was beautifully made.
Oh, yeah. What was that?
Remember? I mean, I've always been interested in that story about the IRA and the Protestants and the Catholics, like the Palestinians and the Jew and the Israelis. I mean, Israelis. It's a religious conflict, and there's a real, but this didn't seem to have any religious strife or any real fight that they were fighting for.
They're all communists, right? Weren't they kind
was
of
the
taking
name
their
of their-
direction?
Social
The CCA or CCS,
Yeah, I
what are they,
think they were
communist?
communists.
They're all
Okay.
communists.
Yes.
And they felt like they had a tie with the IRA, but nothing ever really got defined that
Right.
way. In fact, I don't think there was ever an Irish person in the house or
No,
anything
they
like
went
that. They were
to-
just
what,
like,
they
okay,
went
well
to-
that didn't work.
They took a boat over and
Yeah.
met up with
Tried.
them.
Yeah.
So would they be on the side of the Northern Ireland,
No,
the English occupation?
no, this is all British. This is all British
I
West
mean,
countries.
the
British
IRA,
occupation.
the IRA would want nothing to do with communism or communist cells in Ireland or in Britain, because they wanted home rule. And once they got home rule, that had nothing to do with a communistic. It would be
Right.
more of a capitalistic,
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, this
It was more religious.
this
Catholic
this
based.
idealistic
Catholic.
outreach, we want to identify with a world cause that's established. They have purpose. We want to join with you, IRA, and the IRA is going,
That's not what we're about.
no, you are will use you, without you knowing it. But and I don't know if did they end up using them. I can't remember how.
I don't know. I don't think the IRA would have anything to do with it.
Okay, so they didn't.
Yeah, I don't think they ever did. They never hooked up.
No, I thought it was like constantly exploring how they might do things, and it built up to the last event where it was like, oh my gosh, somebody in this group is going to take it too far, up until then it was like, oh well, yeah, there's protests, we should probably all be over there, but then when what was it, a car explosion? Was that the final?
Well, there's a bomb.
Bomb.
In the car.
And and like they're saying, oh, that's too far. Some of them were saying that's too far.
Well,
Sort of
Faye was killed, so.
Who was killed?
Faye.
Because she got too close.
She wouldn't get out of the car.
Yeah.
I kept asking
okay.
Bill
So it was
all throughout
basically
because he's always
suicide.
a little ahead of
I
me.
wondered.
Do you like it?
Because she
Tell
already
me.
tried, right?
Is something
Or
going to
talked about
happen?
it.
Do you
Do you
like
like it?
it?
Should I continue to read?
Yeah. Is it how far to the end? Is something happening by now? And he's like, no, just keep reading. I'm like,
Okay, Jan, you said you liked this book. What did you like about this book?
Well, I thought it
And
was.
why did you like it?
I mean, I thought it showed the disorganization in the rootlessness of I mean, you really couldn't figure out what their focus was other than just everything. They were against everything. They were against the government, and they were against middle class, and they were against their parents, and they were against all this stuff. They didn't have a focus.
Well, they didn't have a organization. They were just like these
Well, they were
fingers
creating
that
their
came,
own organization.
Yeah,
Together.
they came together,
Uh-huh.
and they tried. I think they tried to coalesce.
but that doesn't
But
sell me on
But
why you
they,
liked
they
it.
kept making
No,
decisions.
I'm waiting
Doris
too.
Lessing, the way she writes is interesting.
I think
When she's forming a sentence and that was interesting. It was a different way. It was like
the
Annie
style,
Pirelli.
the style of writing.
Annie.
Oh my gosh, we're gonna go there.
But what I liked about it was, and maybe Jan too, I'm not sure, but we were in Alice, is that right? Alice's mind a lot.
Yeah.
And you didn't like her.
And well, she was a very smart person, and she could do all these things because of her brain
She
that
accomplished
no
many
one
things,
else,
right.
no one else
She
could even fathom how
They
to do
didn't
it.
even try it.
And this woman thought on her feet, and obviously, the author is like, well, I had no interest in bombing anything, but that building that Harrods that got bombed, I'm trying to imagine, if
What
I
led up to
were
it?
part of it, and this is her, I think her imagination of,
Yeah, because there really was a bombing
Yeah.
at Harrods
yeah,
that killed a
Harrods.
lot of people.
yeah.
Oh,
And
yeah.
in the same way that this went down, it's like Alice warned the authorities,
Was that in
and
the
the
80s?
authorities got there too late in the real
I don't know.
version and in the book version.
I kind of wondered though every once in a while, was she making stuff up? I mean, because there was a lot of cerebral conversation going on,
Yeah.
and so was all that real, or was some of it her imagination playing
Doris
out?
Lessing's imagination or
I was thinking Alice's.
Alice's?
But now-
Some, and
Now,
some
we
of the-
knew what Alice thought about the purpose, because she was, we were in her mind, and we knew what Alice thought about everyone else's thinking. I guess the purpose of the cell was what Alice was going to determine it to be, but she couldn't hold it together. It's like, what was the two lesbians or semi-lesbians? They were very difficult to have as part of the group, and they had the married couple who was status quo, and we like Greenpeace, we'll kind of join up with you. No, yeah, there's just one room, but it's like the author's trying to imagine, how did this thing happen, the bombing happen, and she's saying it took a smart woman or person to
But
do it.
except
Yeah,
she
but-
didn't come up with the idea to bomb.
Yeah.
No, she didn't.
Yeah.
It was all everybody. I forget whose idea it was.
But
Jennifer's or the people
she
next door
took
or
the
whatever.
idea though and
Yeah.
made it happen.
Well,
No,
kind
she
of
went along with
accidentally, yeah. But what that was what I was thinking earlier. Is
I
like
didn't
what
get to the part of who did the logistics on it.
yeah, what was Alice's thing? I mean, what was she?
She was just angry. I mean, she was just this angry person. She was angry at her parents. She was angry at the government.
Did they
She
ever
was
explain why she
angry?
went communist or
No,
whatever?
not really.
No.
She didn't
Well, I remember the
seem-
times.
Well,
that-
her mom didn't. Was it some? Her mom ran out of money, and then did they kick her out, or she had to move into
They
a
divorced.
low
Well,
rent?
because Alice
A low
stole
rent.
the furniture, the curtains, and ruined and broke the contract, so her mother had to move into this
Right.
Facility.
This low rent facility.
This
Yeah.
low rent thing, and she threw the rock through her father's window and almost hit the baby, and you know, she was just
Angry.
angry.
Yeah, but if Alice could have gathered them all together to her will, do we know as a reader what that
What her will
presentation
have
would
been.
be? Yeah.
I don't.
No, and the thing is,
I think-
didn't you sort of feel like no one looked at Alice as you are the leader? They discounted her right and left, even though she appears
They
to be
took
the only one
advantage of her.
accomplishing anything.
Well, I think she was the only one that communicated with the leader in the other building. Or
No, Jasper was over there. Jasper and
yeah, but
the other
Jasper
guy.
was
Yeah, what was the
Jasper
name?
was
Yeah.
her.
Yeah, they were. Yeah.
They were over there, Jasper and whoever.
I book note that I made a note of this one. Alice is a fat girl. So I mean, I think why did she throw that in there? I think it's because Alice
trying
is
to find her
insecure.
way. Yeah, she's trying to
she's
find
an
her way.
insecure girl.
Yeah.
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 I mean, why would she be with a guy who is gay for 15 years and defend the fact that she is still with him
Yeah.
when other men have approached her?
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm with him. And people look and go, what? Are you with him?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, we think about these people as older people, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Why would somebody do that with their life? But she's talking about people who are deciding what to do with their life, you know.
Mhm.
And Alice is an insecure lady, who is like trying to figure out something smart, you know.
But keep in mind the times. It's like I think it wasn't this Thatcher
Yes,
or
Thatcher.
England.
Yeah.
And
Thatcher, England.
it was they were
Yeah.
if they weren't in a depression in London and England, they were damn
There was
close
a lot
to
of
it.
poverty, yeah.
And the job that was lost, it was not he
Yeah.
didn't lose it due to his fault. It was the
Yeah, economy.
and so these young people, idealistic, like we were in college.
Mm-hmm.
Who would you blame,
That's
and then
the
what
other
do you
thing.
do?
She stole the money, and he got blamed for it and lost his job. I mean, she was just she was a fuck up. as
No, I was
far as
talking
I'm
about-
concerned.
I was talking about Mary's boyfriend who lost his
Oh.
engineering
Oh,
job. I'm
okay.
sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry.
But it was, I thought, other than some peripheral characters, I don't know that I've read a book in recent memory where all the characters in the book were really, were just, they were just scum.
Yeah.
They were worthless.
Yeah,
I mean, every one of them.
And usually in a book, there's somebody that you really
That
like.
you like.
And
And
I did not like any
they
of
were
them.
all unlikable
I did
Yeah.
not like any of them.
Yeah.
through the whole book.
Yeah.
There were no redeeming qualities among any of them, other than
The roommates.
No. Or even hopeful
other than
qualities.
Alice. Alice was kept doing stuff, but
She was impressive how she could convince somebody with no money, no deposit, to turn on the electricity in a home she did not own. You know? She was squatting it.
Yeah, she's very resourceful.
She was
But
very resourceful.
Was there anybody like the parents, which we didn't know much about, but do we like them?
Dad?
Yeah.
we never
They
learned,
seemed okay.
never learned enough.
He never stood up to her.
Right.
Spoiled her.
I had a couple other notes here. Alice had, in fact, hardly read Lenin. So, it's like her
She's not
role
even that knowledgeable.
of communism. And also, now that you think about England in the 1980s, the future of Britain, full socialism. Like they're still trapped in a kind of a socialist trap. There's nothing like here. They don't have a real middle class or anything like that. I mean, it's bigger than it used to be, but it's
Really?
not.
Why did you say you know that?
Yeah.
Patty's, what
I
do you think you
think
know?
they have a more middle class than upper
They like
or lower. I mean, they help their lower class out, so they don't really have a lower class.
I mean,
Their lower classes are middle class.
they don't have a lot of landowners and things like that, like we do. You know, they don't have a real established middle class. But anyway, England is more in line with being socialist,
Yeah.
and
I
Yeah,
think
they
they would,
both
they would
care.
admit that. I think.
Yeah.
and they have a lot
Yeah, they
more
would.
communist type, or Russian type. You've seen the
Oh,
TV shows on it,
yeah.
They got Russian agents in all over England,
We
Well,
probably do
that's
too.
a TV show. I mean,
It's real.
Yeah, but
Those are
they're
real
the
actors.
It's a real
Yeah.
actor.
Real actors. That was convincing.
I loved MI6, those shows.
I thought it was an interesting book. It was just a curious read. It really was.
Well, yeah. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
she was kind of rudderless,
It was-
and I think it just shows how you can be swayed to do these terrible things because you really don't have a core to believe in. Alice, like I don't remember the part where they said she didn't read Lenin, but she really, all she had was this dislike of the system and everything in it. And so she was swayed to do this bombing, and then this MI5 guy comes up, and now she's going to go, work for the government? I mean, what is she going to do? I couldn't quite figure out at the end what she was going to go meet this guy.
She served tea before she did it, though.
Yeah.
It was kind of like,
I mean, I wanted to put her into
That's so
this.
traditional.
I
But
know.
she shouldn't be so traditional.
I know.
I mean, I wanted to put her into this idealistic. I'm a college graduate, or not quite. Where you're against the system,
Uh-huh.
and the bourgeoisie, the rich, like her parents. That she wants to put all that blame there, but that all falls apart when you remember that she's 32 and all these other people are like 22.
She's 36.
36, and all these
Yeah.
other people are 28, and she doesn't have like 10 years experience of getting other cells, or what did she do with those 10 years? Do we know anything
She
about
just
it?
hung out.
Sounds to
Lived
me
with
like
your mom.
this is
Jasper.
what she did.
Right, she's
Well, she
quite-
lived with her mom.
She lived with her mom. She and
Years.
Jasper lived with mom
For-
until mom finally kicked her out.
And then she
Doing-
squatted in
doing
houses
what?
and
Yeah.
fixed them up.
Yeah,
Okay, so she squatted that.
this
yeah.
wasn't the first house she
Okay.
fixed up.
No.
She'd done it before.
She spray
Oh,
painted
okay.
graffiti.
Yeah.
Okay, so whatever this, she has this mission. Her link is weak to carrying it out, and so she has this mission, and she's been working on the mission for 10 years.
Mm.
And she's still just as interested in the mission as she was 10 years ago.
I don't know what the mission is. Though.
Well, there was her mom in there, so her mom didn't have an education and ended up raising children, and I think somewhere in there it says all I did was fix meals for people, and she was talking to Alice, and she was saying, and you haven't done any different. You have a college education, but you're not using it, and all you're doing is taking care of people, and so I think that had some fundamental reason why Alice was so she had so much core anger, is that her life, it seemed like she liked what she was doing, but whatever her dreams or whatever it was that people wanted her to do was completely unrealized.
I have read a little bit about how some people refer to this book as Alice wanting her mission in life was to be a mother, and maybe a better mother than her mother. And so all these squats and stuff, and particularly the slice that we're reading, is about her wanting to be a mother. And I just couldn't go that far with the psychology of it. Maybe it's true, but it's like,
Maybe she shouldn't have been with
yeah.
a man who was.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know.
That's subliminal, right? She's protecting herself from really becoming a mother because she's with a guy
Yeah.
that can never be.
Not really. She's taking care of somebody. So it's like a child. It's like a maternal child relationship, because there's obviously there's no sex involved with the individual. all she can do is take care of him.
Yeah.
Whenever he runs by, she gets this warm glow.
Yeah,
I mean,
That's true.
it's probably as mother specific as she's fixing up the house. She's cooking meals for people. She feels good about it. So maybe that's true. That's kind of cheers.
You know, she has this desire to be possibly
Yes.
better than her mother or her parents or all parents, but then she sabotages it by falling in love with a gay man.
Right.
You know, so that she doesn't even have to go forth.
Did your timer go off?
Not yet.
Okay.
Soon though.
When?
I saw another note here that makes her a good terrorist.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like near the end of the thing, and it says Alice was thinking, but people might be killed. Oh no, that couldn't happen. Inside her chest, however, pressure was building up, painful like a cry, but she could not let it be heard, like the howl of a beast in despair, but she could not reach it to comfort it. So that, I mean, that's another reason that she's like a good terrorist.
Yeah.
She had a conscience.
Yeah.
Then why
Makes
did
sense.
she go meet the MI5 guy?
Because
She can, because
it was a good thing to do.
because she can be
It's the
swayed.
law
It makes-
enforcement people.
makes her feel
You know,
important.
maybe she could
So
redeem
So she's gonna.
her badness.
I mean, she was a good terrorist in that she did not want to harm people. And she failed in the end, but that was her thing. She did not want to kill and bomb and harm and name. And
But
that makes you a good terrorist.
I mean, if you want to be cynical about it,
But she
you
did.
could say she's going to go work for MI5, and what does MI5 do? MI5 kills people.
Especially the
MI
IRA.
Yeah.
But they
MI5
also protect their country.
Yeah. By killing people and getting involved in wars and.
Did you just say that?
If they have to.
You did, didn't you?
Don't you remember the episode where he put his face in the grease in the fryer? I think
Now,
about it all the time.
who was the one guy?
Well, no one that
lived-
joins the Army or the Navy or the Air Force really wants to kill anyone. They're there to protect the
Oh,
country.
I think there are certain people who do.
Well, right, and
The
there's
Marines,
certain
they teach you to
police,
kill
and there's
people.
certain doctors, and there's certain, there's a percentage of every thing
Every profession
that wants
is
to
off.
kill someone.
Nurses.
But most
Nurses.
people that join the Air Force or the Army or the Navy, they don't want to go kill people. They're there to protect the country, and in doing so, they realize there's a potential that they're going to have to.
I think that's
wanted to put it out.
99%, but I think there's
Yeah.
a small percentage that
Of
that's
every-
why they go.
Yeah.
They
That's why some people become a policeman, for the
Mhm.
power of it,
Yeah.
to push other people around,
Mhm.
because they've been pushed around somehow.
So you
But-
want closing thoughts?
Mm.
Jason would say.
Well, I'm curious enough. I have to track down one of her other books and read it because she's written some novels that are science fiction.
Yeah, I think this is probably pretty different from our others.
It's got to be.
Yeah,
It's just got to be.
Can I ask a
That's
question before we? The guy I'm getting confused. The guy, or I have been confused. The guy that lived next door that disappeared.
Andrew or whatever his name
Yeah,
is.
Andrew. I forgot what was he? What was he doing? Where did he go?
I don't think it was ever
Was that
defined.
very clear? I didn't think that.
I mean, he's a character that comes in and then disappears.
I thought they did say where he went.
Did he bomb some places? Is he MI5?
No.
Was he a confidant?
No, I think the only MI5 was the guy at the end, Peter
Yeah.
Cecil. The other guys, I mean, I just took it that's the way they interacted. Nobody could be around too long.
Okay.
I mean, wasn't there something about busting the house, and they probably wouldn't do it because why would they bust the house? If there was even a sniff that they were communist, but there was a reason why they didn't bust it. You would think just taking over a house would have been enough to bust them and
Yeah.
all that, but never did.
And I was surprised that I just didn't appreciate how in that time period squatting was a thing, and and the city basically tolerated it. If you could maintain your property at some level, it was institutionalized, and I didn't know that. That's the first I'd heard of it.
And do we have that over here? If there's a house that the landlord just left?
Not legitimately, no. People squat, but I don't think it's legal on any level.
Yeah, you'll
Do
never
we
get.
have very much squatting going on in Kansas City?
Oh, sure.
People break into abandoned houses and squat, absolutely.
Burn
Well,
them out.
supposedly, I think it is, if a house has been truly abandoned for 6 months or more, you can go and claim it.
What,
You can buy it.
I mean,
Land
land bank, but I mean,
Uh-huh.
not necessarily everybody gets the house they want, but yes, land bank, a little land bank.
Yeah, I mean, because they're doing some work over in the Northeast, and they've gotten some houses, and I went to a meeting about housing that they're redoing, and they said if the house is truly abandoned for more than 6 months, you can claim to it. You can apply to own it, even though it hasn't hit the land bank
And
or anything else.
they're usually looking for someone who's going to actually live there, a homeowner versus an investor.
Oh, so they can.
Well, there's some rules because you can be an investor. There's a group of investors that are fixing up these houses,
Gotta be pretty.
and it's for low income, and they don't own the land that the house sits on. And so it's just a house that you're purchasing, and you have a very long land lease to go with it, but then your taxes can't go up after a certain percentage or something like that. But that's going on in the Northeast, and then there's a couple of other parts, and it's these two lawyers. One works for land bank and somebody else. But I've never known that there was something because you see houses sitting abandoned all over the place, and so why wouldn't somebody claim to those if that's truly? It's simple.
I don't
It can't be that
think
simple.
it's not simple. You have to apply through land bank, and you have to prove that you have the resources, even if whatever it is they're charging is not a lot. You have the resources to bring it up to code.
So Alice would never get a house.
She would never get a house.
Like she did
Because,
there.
yeah, clearly the roof was a problem, plumbing, electrical, all the stuff, she wouldn't get it, she didn't have a
She couldn't
job.
fix it.
Yeah.
She didn't have a job, she didn't have any resources, so no. Because they don't want, land bank doesn't want it to go to another person
Who's
who
just
will
gonna be
do
a
the
slumlord.
exact same thing, yeah. So, it's a little harder than just.
Good one, Jason.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, interesting. Curious.
Curious, that's a good description.